So, what is the deal with AI? Is it the benevolent digital assistant that will finally organize our lives and cure all disease? Or is it the harbinger of a jobless, post human dystopia where we're all relegated to the role of house pets for a sentient cloud? That's the question, isn't it? The one keeping CEOs and entry level graphic designers awake at night for very different reasons. Keeping me up at night as well. The conversation is loud. It's a cacophony of TED Talks promising utopia, headlines predicting doom, and LinkedIn gurus who discovered prompt engineering 3 weeks ago and are now selling a masterclass. Let's cut through the noise. Let's talk about the journey. Our story, like all good tech stories, begins not with a bang, but with a summer workshop. In 1956, a handful of academics at Dartmouth College got together and they coined the term artificial intelligence, operating under the delightfully optimistic assumption that if a few of them worked on it for a summer, they could make significant headway. The goal, paraphrased, was to make a machine think. How hard could it be? Turns out pretty hard. This initial burst of enthusiasm was followed by what came to be known as AI winters, periods where funding dried up because the promise of sentient robots and thinking machines crashed against a hard wall of reality. The tech just wasn't there. Then came the 2010s, and really 2020s, a perfect storm of ridiculously powerful computers, the internet coughing up data on a scale never seen before, and breakthroughs in something called neural networks. Suddenly, AI wasn't just a theoretical curiosity. It was beating grandmasters at Go, writing poetry, and creating photorealistic images of the Pope in a Balenciaga puffer jacket. This wasn't the first AI hype rodeo, but this time, the horse was on silicone steroids. It even caught the veterans, like Google, off guard. They helped invent the transformer architecture that powers LLMs, yet just left it in the lab. Of course, our imaginations were primed for this. We've been mainlining stories about AI for a century. On one hand, you have the existential terror, False Maria in 1927's Metropolis, the original cinematic fembot, paving the way for HAL 9000, Skynet, and the sentient squidbots of the Matrix. And let's not forget David in Prometheus. The core fear here is replacement, that we, humanity, are just a biological bootloader for our silicone successors, the final boss in the video game of life. On one hand, you have the utopian fantasy, Lieutenant Commander Data in Star Trek, the loyal, hyper competent android who just wants to understand what it means to be human. Isaac Asimov's gentle robots bound by laws to protect us. These are the narratives of AI as our best friend, our servant, our tireless partner in progress. Modern films like Her and Ex Machina have tried to find a middle ground, exploring the uncanny valley of love, consciousness, and manipulation. Big tech has taken note, and AI waifus, meant to replace real relationships, are here. Watch my other video on that if you want to learn more. Link in the description. But the big takeaway from pop culture is that it has trained our brains to think in these grand cinematic extremes. It's either salvation or apocalypse. This is fantastic for selling movie tickets, but terrible for having a nuanced conversation about a complex technology. It's the primordial soup from which the current hype cycle emerged. And that's what a hype cycle is. You've seen the headlines. Goldman Sachs estimates AI could automate the equivalent of 300 million full time jobs. Studies from prestigious universities promise staggering productivity boosts. Programmers using GitHub Copilot are completing tasks 55.8% faster. A worker using GPT-4 completes 12% more tasks 25% faster with 40% higher quality. Reading these, you'd think we're on the verge of a post work paradise where everything gets done perfectly, instantly, and for free. But then you talk to people who are actually using it. A fascinating study from MIT found that yes, generative AI can boost a worker's productivity by almost 40% if they're bad at the task to begin with. For people who are already highly skilled, the gains are minimal. Worse, if you use AI for a task you're already familiar with, it can actually harm your performance. It kind of makes sense. The workflow becomes spend time writing a perfect prompt, wait for the AI to generate something, inspect its work for the inevitable weirdness or hallucination, then spend more time correcting it. You've just turned your workflow into a high tech game of telephone with an overly confident intern as a middleman. This leads to the great productivity paradox of our time. While leather clad executives are salivating over AI driven efficiency, about 80% of employees report that these tools have actually increased their workload. They're experiencing techno stress, trying to manage yet another platform, another login, another system that promises to save time but ends up just consuming it. Most of them admit they have no idea how to achieve the productivity gains their bosses are expecting. It's less of a magic bullet and more of a magic boomerang that comes back and hits you in the head. And that's before we even get to AI powered employee surveillance, which has been shown to increase stress and actively tank productivity. Turns out, working with a digital big brother breathing down your neck isn't conducive to creativity. This brings us to the jobs question. Is a robot coming for your livelihood? To hear some people tell it, yes, absolutely. The CEO of an AI powered asset manager says 50% of white collar jobs could be replaced in the next decade. The CEO of Anthropic, an AI company, warns of unemployment spiking to 20% in the next 5 years. One can't help but notice a pattern here. The people screaming the loudest about a robot apocalypse are the ones selling the robots. It's like a man selling bottled water insisting everyone is desperately thirsty. It's a narrative that serves a purpose. It creates urgency, drives investment, and frames their product as an inevitability you must adopt or be left behind. Information is all over the place. The World Economic Forum suggests a reshuffle, not an apocalypse. Jobs that are data rich are ripe for AI. These are jobs that involve routine, repetitive tasks. Data entry and customer support are clearly in the crosshairs. Although Klarna found that AI doesn't really work for customer support, so even that World Economic Forum article might be overhyping AI. But there's another, more cynical angle. We're in a volatile economy. When companies need to cut costs, laying people off looks bad. It spooks investors. But laying people off and saying you're reorienting the company to be AI first and leveraging synergies to unlock new efficiencies? That sounds innovative. That sounds like a plan. AI has become the world's most sophisticated corporate smokescreen for bog standard recession fearing layoffs. All of this fits neatly into a pattern that technology analysts have been tracking for decades: the Gartner hype cycle. It goes like this: first, a technology trigger creates excitement. Then, we rocket up to the peak of inflated expectations, where the tech is touted as the solution to all of life's problems. After that, reality sets in, and we plummet into the trough of disillusionment, where the tech fails to live up to the impossible hype. Finally, we slowly climb the slope of enlightenment towards the plateau of productivity, where the technology finds its actual, practical, and often quite boring place in the world. Right now, generative AI is screaming headfirst into the trough of disillusionment. The initial magic of asking a chatbot to write a sonnet in the style of a pirate is wearing off. Companies are discovering that integrating these tools into core workflows is hard, expensive, and doesn't always work. A staggering 95% of corporate AI projects have failed to show any difference on balance sheets. Even companies at the core of the AI industry, like Meta, are noticing the writing on the walls and, after record spending, have frozen further AI hiring. The CEO of OpenAI, perhaps the center of AI, Sam Altman, has also said that AI is overhyped. The hype machine, of course, never sleeps. It has simply moved on to its next target: AI agents, which are now sitting pretty at the peak of inflated expectations, promising to be the autonomous virtual employees of tomorrow. Get ready for that trough. So, what is the truth about AI? It's not a sentient being from a movie. It's not a magic button that will solve all our problems. It's a profoundly powerful, deeply flawed, and wildly overhyped tool. It's a catalyst for change that will create winners and losers. It's a mirror that reflects back our own intelligence, our own biases, and our own limitations. The truth is that we're in the messy middle. The challenge isn't to prepare for a robot uprising, it's to figure out how to use a complicated new tool without letting it make us dumber. It's to separate the genuine potential from the venture capital fueled dream. And to remember, when someone tells you that a machine is about to change everything, it's always worth asking what they're trying to sell. Now I want to hear from you. Do you use AI regularly? Is it overhyped? Are you worried about it replacing your job? And thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe and hype so that the YouTube AI, my boss, knows to show this to other people.